And there is our next guest, Jim Cavale, with a couple of well-known people. How about that? Ross Bjork from A&M, Bruce Pearl, and Jim Cavale joining us. We've talked to Jim many, many times about NIL. He plays a big role. Jim, great to have you on. You're always hanging out with the celebrities, man. I wish you should have taken us to the Grammys last night.
Oh, I wish we were down in New Orleans. We had a great time, and Bruce and Ross and Courtney were just a few of the leaders who were able to get together for our influencer gathering, talking about NIL and doing it at the Final Four. So it was a lot of fun.
Well, what did you hear from those in the bubble, so to speak, in intercollegiate athletics about how it's going as we are now about 8-9 months in?
Well, we're still, maybe 200 meters into a 26.2 mile marathon. And, a lot of it still has to play out. But obviously, there's been a world of difference from just when we spoke back in July and NIL began. I mean, collectives have emerged on all the major campuses, and those collectives are really, pioneering a lot of what's going on with NIL. So it's an interesting, and it's really unique in that the schools aren't able to handle the facilitation of deals, and because of that, other parties like collectives are emerging to help make that happen.
Jim, you know what the critics have said, especially this weekend at the Final Four. There has been a lot of criticism. They're saying this is the wild, wild west. This is absolute thievery. It's programs buying players. I know you don't like to hear that, but it's the reality. How do you respond?
Well, I think that it's a circumstance of the differences between pro and college NIL. We used pro NIL to model what could happen in college. The reality is pro athletes all have agents. They all have a players association courting group licensing opportunities, and none of them have to go to class. Student athlete NIL is just a lot harder than I think people accounted for. Student athletes not only have school and football or whatever sport they play, but they don't have agents. At least 99% of them don't. And they don't have a players association. So everything they're going to do with NIL, they have to put in a lot of work to get done. And so a lot of the folks who come in and helped, in some situations are being looked at and doing it in ways that might not be legitimate NIL, but this is a new NIL era in college that we have nothing to compare to before it. So I understand how some of the things may look different and unique and even innovative in how they're being done, but it's a brand new era and really a brand new space.
Jim, that's all great, especially if the critics are coming from the media. But and if you don't, I'll be happy to give you their names privately. But you already know their names. People inside, head coaches, are saying what I just got through regurgitating. So I'm trying to square it all, and I'm not blaming you. You're just you're the messenger here. You're not the guilty party, but it is already somewhat out of control, especially with the transfer portal, when schools are using whatever means possible, and they're not even doing it. There are agents out there who are doing. So how do we figure all this out, or can we?
Well, I think what really needs to happen is the universities need to be able to have more involvement in NIL. And, the reality of this is because all the states that have created NIL bills and even the schools who created their own NIL policies have been left to do so on their own. They've all put this clause of no institutional involvement into their policies. And I think we've seen that that's not going to work. And so when the school's not involved, and then the coaches don't feel like they can control this, and they're used to controlling everything, Paul, right? Everything. And now they really don't feel in control with this. It creates a gap between what the school can be involved in and what actually happens. That puts coaches in a place where they get worried because they're still going to be judged on wins and losses. So it's understandable that this area that they can't control as much is actually bothering them because it's playing into what matters to them most, which is their record. And so I think getting schools the ability to be more involved, have more of NIL in-house is going to be really important in the years to come.
So how is that going to solve the problem?
Well, I think, number one, it allows the schools to start to use their own system to be the barrier to entry from anything that might be illegitimate or looked at later in this era as something that was cheating. I think the schools have to protect that. I think they have to stay in control. And I think by not doing that, these outside organizations doing whatever they're doing without the school knowing are gaining a power that could actually rival the school. I mean, we've seen that even with things in the past where you've had powerful boosters in each school's market who've, really gained influence and almost become a separate sector of power outside of the leadership at the school. The school has to prevent that from happening. They need to have their own system that everything flows through for their student athletes in NIL so they can oversee it with the rules, but also so they can have their strategy be the one that happens at their school and not some outside entity creating that strategy.
So, Jim, that sounds great in theory. So how does that happen? How do the schools get power?
Well, one thing that a lot of our schools are doing is they're adding a new product we created to help them do that called the Influencer Local Exchange. And what it is it's a marketplace. Texas A&M is an example of one of the schools in the SECs who's added that. The 12th Man Exchange is a place where anyone who wants to work with Texas A&M players has to go and register to be approved by Texas A&M Athletics. And then from there, any payment that goes to the student athlete goes through that system so they can oversee all those payments, no transaction fees, no money's being made off the payments, but it allows a new layer of data, of oversight to ensure that everything that's happening is within the policy of Texas A&M, which has also got to be within the policy of the state of Texas. And it really allows Texas A&M Athletics to keep one system monitoring and filtering everything that's happening with their student athletes.
Jim, I think it's great that Texas A&M and Ross Bjork are working so hard to do that. However, as you well know, they are the school that coaches in the SEC, both publicly and privately, are pointing at as the biggest offender. So how do we square that?
Well, I think, Paul, you and I both know that most of what's happening right now in MIL is false FOMO. Reality is there's a lot of things like message boards in the Texas A&M situation that have created legends and myths that, quite frankly, from my viewpoint, aren't real. And it's now when you lost a player before, it was 10 other things that people made up in their head that were the reason beyond they just chose that school. And now with this, it's a new reason to say, oh, there must be something going on with NIL. And I'm not saying those things aren't happening. I'm just saying that it's a lot of leaders who've been around for a long time walking around feeling like they're actually doing worse than they really are. It's 9 months into a brand new era. It's not as big of a deal as I think some people think it is when it comes to recruits. And then in other situations, it might have been to the decision maker for the recruit, but it's because they showed that there's real results happening at their school. They didn't promise a deal. So I understand the problem that some people have with some schools when it comes to rumors being brought up, but I think they need to validate those rumors.
Well, I'm not sure that's easy to do, just like I'm not sure it's easy to solve the problem. But and again, I want to make it clear to you, Jim, I'm not basing these questions off of message boards and social media. I'm basing it off of talking to real people at real schools who are encountering this on a daily basis, who continue to argue the paradigm has changed so dramatically, and that certain schools, good for them or not, got out to an early start and were able to take advantage of the system, whatever system we're talking about here, and I'm not really even sure.
Yeah, I think that, listen, anybody that thought that NIL was going to be this balancing effect where every school was going to, all of a sudden be on a level playing field, I think this is just like having the money to build a great weight room or anything else you've seen separate people in the arms race. If you have a lot of eyeballs on your brand, then a player that plays for that brand is going to have a lot more opportunity. And so I think that's just a reality that the bigger brands are going to take advantage of, especially when they can build a system that they can tell anyone who wants to work with their athletes to go to, connect with them, and be able to process a transaction with them. And here's the thing, Texas A&M and everyone else is going to have to show the value exchange that occurred with every single transaction an athlete receives. And so if that doesn't happen, then this was an NIL. And I think Texas A&M and the schools, at least I know that are using our system, are doing that because every payment has a contract attached to it that shows what the player was paid, what they were given for whatever service or value exchange they provided with their NIL. And that's going to be something every school has to do when it comes to NIL.
Well, close, since you do have I don't know what your formal relationship is with Texas A&M, but obviously you have some relationship with them. What are they doing out there that seems to be working so well? They just had the greatest recruiting class in college football history.
Well, I don't think it's just Texas A&M though, Paul. I mean,
well,
we
yeah,
have,
but they are the school I'm most interested in right now, Jim. If we could keep it there.
Yeah, sure. I think they've done a great job of branding and online place for anyone who wants to search, find, communicate with, and work with their athletes. And they've brought it all into one place. I think a lot of other student athletes are getting hit up on DMs on Twitter or Instagram. They don't know what's legit or not. And there's this bottleneck that's been created and put onto the student athlete that Texas A&M's eliminated with good technology. We're a technology provider. We're software. And the couple hundred Division I schools that have contracts with us pay us to provide software to help their athletes build their brands and manage their NIL businesses. And Texas A&M is one of those 206 Division I schools that we do that with. But I think they've done a great job adding this new local exchange that they've branded the 12th man exchange and allowed for anyone who wants to work with their student athletes to know they can go to find them, communicate with them, and transact with them for their NIL. And I think all schools should be thinking of how to do that, because people who want to work with their athletes need to know where to go to find them, communicate with them, and actually transact with them. And it's a little harder than you think for most businesses at this point to do that.
Jim Cavale joining us, talking about this subject, NIL. Thank you very much, Jim. We'll take a short break. Back with more of your phone calls after this.